everyone. So today we have Naren Kachroo from Google. He's head of AI at Google, and I'll just let him introduce himself now.
Hi guys, my name is Naren Kachroo. I head the go-to-market team for artificial intelligence and generative AI in Google Cloud India. I've been in this role for about 13 months now, but I have a little bit of a longer career. Been, been working in the tech industry for the last 25 years now. So, while silver jubilee working this year. So glad to be here. Happy to be here.
Okay, so you used to work in like Databricks before Google, and before that, I believe you worked in Microsoft and AWS as well. So like, what was that? How does that work from this to this to this? And I think you went from like business roles and now to head of AI. How does how did that transition happen?
As much as I would have loved for this to be a very planned and structured career, it's just things just emerged and happened along the way. To be honest with you, so I started my career in tech. As I said, 2.5 decades back. I used to be a programmer. I used to write software code and stuff, and things just happened and emerged, and opportunities came along. I've been very fortunate. I've been very privileged and lucky to have landed some very good roles, and I'm really thankful to my managers who took a punt and a chance on me to give me roles that I was probably not trained for. I learned it on the job. So I started my career with sales as a solutions architect uh, several years back. I spent some time in Microsoft for 5 6 years, and that's where I got out of working in the cloud technology. If I look at Azure, because Microsoft's cloud solution was just coming onto the scene, and from there, an opportunity to do full-fledged business development and sales emerged in Amazon Web Services. Was the leader in cloud technologies at that point. So in 2016, I moved to AWS, very fulfilling experience there as well. And one thing led to another, and people took a chance on me, took a bet on me to do different roles. And from there on, I got an opportunity to lead um, part of the business in AWS for digital natives. So I've been very closely associated with the startup ecosystem, both the emerging startups and the large startup ecosystem since 2019. I moved to Databricks for some time to lead their digital native business in India. And when this role for leading the AI team in India came about in Google was the famous words of Godfather that I couldn't refuse. So that's how I'm here. But, yeah, sort of things started to fall into place, and I've been very fortunate to work with leaders who have had the confidence in me to do this job. I have no prior knowledge of artificial intelligence or machine learning or anything like that before I took this job. But here I am.
Oh wow. So wait. You said you had no like prior knowledge of machine learning or AI before you became head of AI at Google Cloud. Okay,
That's
that
how it is. I
right.
mean, Manu, look at it. Generative AI, which is what is the predominant sort of motion right now
Hmm.
our, within our business. If you look at generative AI, the paper on generative AI, on which all of the development in generative AI is sort of happening right now, was a paper called the Transformers paper. Attention is all you need. That was written in 2017,
Yeah.
right? So the seminal work on this is not that old actually.
Mhm.
So if you are really asking for people who have like a lot of years of knowledge on machine learning and especially generative AI, etc., like this tech is fairly new by itself. So I think
Yeah.
I'm like we're evolving together on this journey.
I mean, yeah, fair enough. So I'm just wondering, so you were doing a lot of like cloud stuff, and I believe you said some startup funding was that, or
No, I've been associated with the startup ecosystem. So back in 2019, I got an opportunity in Amazon, in AWS, to lead part of the business that was digital natives or startups per se.
okay,
So because of that, my association with startups, and then my earlier role in Google was also to handle the business for the startup ecosystem.
hmm,
So, my association with the startup space in India, both well-established large startups like the unicorns, the likes of, I've had great opportunity to work with, the likes of Dream 11 and Shadi.com and others, but also the emerging startup space is something that I had the opportunity to do for the last 6 7 years. Yeah.
was there any like AI involvement in you picking up AI? So like say for instance, I want to learn something new, I go to Chat GPT or maybe Gemini, and I tell it just go through this topic and uh, just tell me how do I learn this. So was there any of that while you were I guess still learning about this?
A lot of it was that. Honestly, I'll give due. I mean, since you mentioned about ChatGPT, I'll give them due credit. As I told you earlier, the foundational work for generative AI was done in Google.
Yeah.
Like the original paper for generative AI was written in Google. But I think the more important moment that opened everybody's sort of eyes into what this technology is happened when ChatGPT made it a consumer offering, right? So
Mhm.
they put it front and center into the lives of consumers, and you could go on, as a democratized generative AI and democratized artificial intelligence in that sense. So while AI has been a topic for a while, and I've been deeply involved with like AI-led stuff, whether it was you know um, things like translation, speech to text, text to speech, OCR technologies, etc. They're all based on artificial intelligence. But I think what happened is this moment of democratizing generative AI sort of you know brought up everything like uh, to the scene, and
Yeah.
I think like everybody like true democratization of
Mhm.
artificial intelligence. So that got me very interested, and then I did I'm a very active user of a lot of toolkits. Before joining Google, it was a little spread I was a little spread on multiple tooling, but now within Google, and it's not because there's any restriction, it's just because I think the tooling that Google provides, specifically things like Gemini and Notebook LM, is another tool that I use um, like almost on a daily basis. So I do use a lot of this tech
Mhm.
you know, to research, to create a plan, to think through how to build strategies, how to research on clients that I meet, um, product teams that I engage with, um, documents that I need to synthesize, research that I need to do. So all of that spectrum, I do very, I do use this tooling a lot.
I mean, I agree with the Google Tools thing, and that is another thing that I want to talk about. Is so I remember uh, this properly happening. The timeline was I saw some video of an engineer from Google claiming that Lambda. the model at the time has gone sentient, and it's saying stuff that only a human would. And then from there I got interested. Then eventually I saw GPT-3. Then I saw that eventually what had happened, there's a paper that had come out of Google, but then OpenAI released a tool, and then they released Bard, which was, well, for lack of a better word, little bit of a disaster. And then the first few versions of Gemini, I had literally created videos about making like fun of it, about the earlier versions of Gemini. And then suddenly they just turned it around. These new tools, Project Astra, Notebook LM, and these other tools that came out of Google, and also like the newer version of Gemini being on the top of LM Arena. Just how did that? I mean, I get it's Google, but how did the turnaround happen?
One's a very interesting question, and you know, there has been fair amount of criticism of Google, as you correctly said, in our early releases. Um, but you need to factor in a couple of things, right? First thing is Google is a consumer company. We have 8 or 9 properties that a billion plus users use on a daily basis, right? So the level of scrutiny and responsibility that is on Google's shoulders is there is no other company on the planet that has that level of scrutiny going on. Definitely not a not-for-profit company masquerading as a profit company, and I don't want to go down that path, but we're not on the same level playing field as companies, right? So we had to take a very very serious view on what we release, and there were a few oops moments in the beginning. You remember all the controversy around some of the generated content and things like that, right? So I think there was a moment where we and Google decided, let's take a step back. This is not winning the game here and now. This is more long term. This is a moment in history, in the history of humans, ever since we have evolved. That's going to be truly a seminal moment. This is going to define the an era going forward. So we can't take like a shortcut method to it. So we took a very deep uh, view on two or three things. One is with safety and responsible AI at its core, how do we develop systems and how do we develop generative AI and AI models that will serve three purposes? That will serve our consumer interfaces, right? Our consumers that love our products, for example, search and YouTube and Gmail and others. Like, how do we make that experience AI enhanced, right? The second is how do we take that experience and give that tooling and that product to enterprises and businesses and startups and governments and other people who can make better use of that same technology for their interface for their experiences and bring this to life. And how can we do the third thing is how can we do all of it in a way that actually aids and benefits economic progress, right? Generative AI by a tool, right? Chat tools or whatever, right? Are okay. They demonstrate the fact that you have excellent intelligence in systems. But eventually, economic value is only going to come when you put these systems into some process and these systems do something on your behalf, right? So I think what you're seeing right now and why you're seeing this emergence of Google in the scene is because we took a very conscious decision on these three pillars. And the research that the Google DeepMind and Google Research and all did was based on these pillars. That can we be the most safest, secure, responsible AI provider in the market? Do it because we have to serve through the same tools. We have to serve a billion people. who use search every day, who use maps every day. We cannot have these experiences that people use on a daily basis infused with AI that's not steady, stable, responsible, secure, etc. And then can we give this in the hands of businesses who want to build new experiences on top? So I think that's where we are seeing some of that. The second thing that we have also done, which has really brought and our secret sauce, I don't know if I should reveal it on podcast, but I think a lot of people know about it, is we are the only vertically integrated AI stack in the industry today. So we are, from the foundation level, we have our own chipsets. For our first party models, we don't rely on third party accelerators like those from NVIDIA, etc. We do partner with NVIDIA. We do sell NVIDIA's GPUs on Google Cloud Platform, but for our own first party models like Gemini and image generation, like ImageN model and video generation, VO2 models and stuff, we use tensor processing units, which are our own hardware capable, which is our own accelerator hardware capability. And as a result of that, that vertical integration, think of this like almost like an Apple
Hmm.
ecosystem movement in AI, where we have the entire stack that's built by Google, that's researched first party by Google, and the efficiencies we are able to drive because we don't have this third party dependency, right? We depend on our own sort of like farm to
Hmm.
table in the same thing, right? So that has really been extremely beneficial and extremely useful for us to really accelerate this to the next level.
I guess with that, what like you're saying is, since every step of it has been researched, it's sort of an equivalent to when a programmer reverse engineers their way to binary, and now you understand everything. That is sort of the equivalent of what is, I guess, happening with Google.
Yeah, yeah, I would say that I would say like a vertically integrated stack. So yes, the same team builds and runs the chipsets,
Hmm.
that builds the platform, that builds the software stack, and finally that it's the same group that builds the models that run on top of it. So efficiency gains. That's the reason why people were extremely shocked and surprised when we released Gemini 1.5 Flash at the price point that we did. Like it was like even today. I mean, I know DeepSeek has sort of it's been in the news, but even if you look at unit economics today on cost of general intelligence at a unit price on various studies, nothing beats Gemini 1.5 Flash and now Gemini 2, including DeepSeek. We are like 30% cheaper than DeepSeek as well. And the reason for that is because we have been able to get economies of scale on our own hardware. That has been our secret sauce on why we have been able to accelerate, give the price, give performance, give lowest latency models in the market today without compromising on anything else and without burning a deep hole in our pockets. I'm sure we are a little bit, but not as much as some of our competitors because they have to buy stuff from outside
Right.
and they have to buy stuff that is rare, where there is a supply demand problem. Like like there is a race to buy Nvidia hardware.
Yep.
Like, we are not research is not dependent on.
So DeepSeek, when that happened, I remember I was so pissed off at what people were saying on social media. And I just want to know your opinion on that, because it felt like such nonsense. Because as soon as DeepSeek came, the stocks of Nvidia dropped, and the justification was, now that there is a more efficient AI, and now we do not need Nvidia GPUs. And I'm like, that's just not how it works. What? eh,
Yeah.
So I just want to know, like, why would something like that happen? Because on a mass scale, it's not like only retail investors took out their money. Nvidia stock dropping 16% is like crazy.
Uh, it seems, Man, that you are hurt a little bit, so I'm sure you're holding. There's some holding on Nvidia that you have. So I will be cautious about what I say here. But I think this is a very. So I'll tell you my perspective on this whole DeepSeek moment. I think it's a very important moment in this sort of evolution that we are seeing of generative AI um, and stuff. I think two things happened. One is that the shockwaves got created because this new thing, and they were bold enough to sort of open source it to some extent to say, hey, here is our paper, and see how we have done it. And I think that not coming from uh, the Western Hemisphere,
Mhm.
I think created a little bit of a shock and awe for people. And honestly, between you and I and the listeners that are listening to this, I think there's some great work happening in the Eastern Hemisphere as far as AI is concerned. And I think that took some people by shock. And I'm not saying just about China, I'm also including India in it. I think what you will see coming out from India in the next 6 to 12 months, including the push that government of India is making behind AI mission program. I don't know if you've heard about that, but I think what we are going to see is the dynamics of this notion that there is one or two countries who control all innovation in the world, right, is going to be severely challenged. And the fact that the ability to do that at unit economics that work for us at our scale was a little bit of a shock moment. So I think I'll give DeepSeek that. Um, as I said earlier, I mean, we have been running models far cheaper than
Yeah.
DeepSeek. So it was not something that shocked or awed us, because when we looked at cost per intelligence, or if you say token, cost per token, or whatever metric you want to use, DeepSeek, despite everything else it claimed, didn't beat the numbers that Gemini 1.5 already had in offering. So I think it is a little bit. I don't think it's going to be a one player all world going forward. So I think there will be different patterns. There will be different frameworks, capabilities, the new agentic thing that will come up. Right, all of these will require multitude of different kind of infrastructure offerings, different models, different large language, small language models, task specific models, new frameworks emerging like calm, which is replacing llms, do llms doing the work of rag architecture. So I think new things will emerge in this space. I don't think it's too premature to write off somebody like Nvidia, right? That would be stupid, as you said, to do, because they have also a very powerful stack. I'm not just saying hardware capability, but the firmware and software that runs on that, which is powering a lot of world's artificial intelligence. You know, so I think from that standpoint, um, we are in a good place. I think there is a lot of. I mean, we are just. I mean, this is so new, man, that this is like we are not even hit the tip of the iceberg yet. I
Yeah.
mean, the iceberg is massive. The scale on this, the opportunity is massive on top, and I think there's going to be multiple players in this. I'm sure AMD will come out with something. I'm sure Intel is working on stuff. As I said, we have our own chipsets. Microsoft and us both released quantum chipsets recently, doing first-party research on quantum and all of that. So I think that there is. I mean, it's not like one little moment, one little flash in pan. I don't think is going to be that earth shattering that will wipe out. I mean, things like this are not going to wipe out Nvidia.
Yeah.
That's, I think.
I, I mean, so I'm not discrediting DeepSeek. I think the paper they released and the model was uh, they're really good. But what it kind of got blown out of proportion is what I think. Ki,
Everything that will happen now,
hmm,
because this is so unprecedented, will get blown out of proportion. And my view is like, I just showed a demo yet, and this is as of yesterday. I showed a demo to a customer of mine on VO2, which is our video generation model. I don't know if you have seen any
yeah, yeah,
early
yeah.
work in VO2. They fell off their chair, man. They were like, we cannot believe this is artificial intelligence generated, and we cannot believe if you have time and if I can share my screen later in the podcast, I'd be happy to show you what I showed to them. But they're like, unbelievable. This cannot be AI generated. So I think every single thing, because it is so unprecedented, it is so new in
Hmm,
terms of eye opening. The quality of generated output has become so good that every single thing that happens in this space is going to be blown out of proportion for some time till people then realize, ki, oh, now this is the new normal. So, tell me more.
hmm. I guess that's fair. Okay, so yeah, coming back to that Gemma thing that I wanted to talk about.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Super excited about Gemma.
Gemma 3 just got released. It's a really good model. And then Mistral 3.1 got released and they beat it. But that's fine. The thing was, what I noticed about Gemma is um, there was this one number that I noticed that made me, it put me in a whole different chain, wherein I saw that the Gemma 12B model was better than at a certain benchmark than the Gemma 27B model. And I was like, if this is happening, then somewhere it's just that we just don't know what we're doing. Matlab, we kind of do know what we're doing, but we don't exactly still don't
But
understand this.
वो आप Gemma के बारे में बोल रहे हो, that the same thing happened with Gemini as well. If you look at Gemini 2.0 Flash, it is beating Gemini 1.5 Pro by a mile
Right.
at one fifth the cost
Hmm.
on unit economics. So, like, and if you look at this journey that Google has had on our API, I'll come to the Gemma model. It's a very exciting space. We are very proud of what we are doing on the open source ecosystem, etc. But if you look like Gemini 1.0, we had the Pro and the Ultra model, right?
Yeah.
Then 1.5, we had the Flash and the Pro model. The Flash model beat the 1.0 Pro.
Right.
100 the
Hmm.
right? The performance on smaller models, because of efficiency gains on the whole ecosystem stack, architectures, new way of training these models, hardware infrastructure that's being made available to them, accelerators, etc. Is just like every new release, and I think AI itself has a part to play in this. Like a
Right.
lot of the efficiencies in software development cycles, I don't know, you have not been you've not been around as much as I have. Looking at my receded hairline, you will bear testimony to that. But software release cycles were 3 to 5 years. We are retiring our models in a year.
Right.
That's like right now, like and this is not just ours. Like you ask OpenAI, you ask Mistral, ask everybody. Our life cycle come down to 12, and that's a stretch. And we struggle to keep the models alive at the same time. When this is like, I remember I was at Microsoft, as you mentioned earlier. There were operating systems that Microsoft supported for 15 years,
Yeah.
Excel, and it's not been that long back. Windows
Right.
XP, the whole Vista disaster and all of that, and they had to like support that for an extended period of time. So now we are going from 10 years support on tech to not even 12 months.
Right. That's very exciting. But what I've also noticed, so I remember back when ChatGPT came out, I believe it was like 3 or 4 months after. Um, I saw all of like the papers that were getting released, diffusion models and whatnot, and were happening, and the pace at which everything was getting better. I just saw the release of like GPT 1, 2, and 3, and the kind of improvements that it had made. And I was like, bro, if we are growing at this pace, then within 3 years everything is just over, everything will change. And then after 3 years I realized everything could have changed if more people would have just picked it up. But people were like, nahi nahi, ye to chal raha hai, chalne do. So how do we tackle that?
Adoption
Yeah.
of AI, mainstreaming of AI. I think what's going to happen, man, this is my view, is that AI by itself, um, is not going to, like, there is a limit on AI usage by itself, like as a standalone thing, right? I think what will happen eventually is AI is going to be infused in our lives, in our systems, in experiences, and all of that. The example that I give is, imagine how interesting invention of electricity would have been when electricity became mainstream. And there's a movie about that, on the whole, um, Tesla versus Western versus and all of that. So this is an exciting. I mean, imagine the world. Rewind back to that time when electricity became generally produced, mass distributed, just like the AI thing that we see today. Now, electricity by itself coming to your home and maybe lighting a bulb, etc. Even at that time would have been challenged. अरे मोमबत्ती सस्ती है, gas से light आ ही रही है. How much is the luminous effect, right? I think where we saw the flip of us not even thinking about how important electricity is coming to our homes is when appliances came onto the scene that started making our lives extremely easy to be, right? So now you don't even think about it, right? Now it's like second nature. But you know it wouldn't have been the world we are in today at that moment not happened when electricity came to our homes, right? But what it meant was not electricity by itself. What it meant was the appliances that run on it, you know, air conditioning, fans, television, microwave ovens, stuff like that, right? That has changed our lives. I think that's what's going to happen with AI. Right now, we are in this phase where AI is becoming mainstream. It's coming to our lives, and we are like, "Arey, iska kya karna hai? I can put two humans to do this. Why do I need an AI engine to do it?" But what is going to happen is, when experiences and applications are going to have AI embedding first, like, then you will start to see the uplift on what it means to humans, right? The other example that I give very a lot is this whole refrigeration coming onto the scene. I don't know if you have heard this, but when refrigerators came onto the scene and refrigeration became mainstream, guess which is the most important company that emerged out of refrigeration?
Hmm.
Now you would, like, somebody would guess, oh, it's probably a company like, those who manufacture CFL fluid or GE or something like that. The answer is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola became $1 trillion
Right.
company because of refrigeration. So think about AI, that right now what we are seeing is this refrigerator being shoved into your doors. आप बोल रहे हो यार ठीक है मैं तो रोज खाना बनाता हूँ. Now there is going to be like those moments where new experiences are going to come to the fore, where there's going to be this Coca-Cola moment within AI. So that is where I feel that this whole agentic view that we have, and we are calling it agentic, we can call it apps, we can call it whatever, but the infusion of generative AI into workflows, into applications, into our lives, into systems that we already use. Search, for example, right?
Right.
People started dismissing search when generative AI came. विवाह कदम अब सब चैट जीपीटी. Search has not lost its relevance.
Yeah.
What has happened is people want intelligence in search. Search is going to remain there. We have realized it, perplexity has realized it. Search is not going to go away. People are still going to search. Your consumer behavior on buying stuff on online stores has not changed just because generative AI came in. You are no longer saying, "Oh, I want to go to a wedding and tell me what." You are still searching for Sherwani, emojis, whatever, tuxedos, whatever. The ability now for systems that sit behind these search engines determine intent better, to do you, to give you a generated response better, to have better human like understanding behind it, that is going to be the power of the system.
Right.
So existing experiences enhanced by generative AI.
That's, yep,
Coca-
right.
Coca-Cola.
Okay, that's a very long view. I was thinking आज ही कर देते हैं. So,
आज मतलब कल तक हो जाएगा, परसों तक हो जाएगा for sure. It's not very far actually. I'll give you a statistic. Software companies like Salesforce and ServiceNow and all of these. There's a study done that until last year, until 2024, 5% of them had thought about agentic,
okay,
right? Guess what the number is in 2025?
10%.
84%.
Okay, that is a big number.
So this Coca-Cola thought has already come in कि यार इसका economic value जो है इस ecosystem का, it's going to come from applications that people use already.
Hmm.
So it is going to become generally available when the experiences that you use in a day-to-day basis are going to make your lives better.
Right.
It's not like a force fit moment. अब तुम्हारे घर में बिजली आ गई, तुम्हारे पास लाइट बल्ब नहीं है, तो बिजली का काम सिर्फ तुम्हें शॉक दे के मारना है. I mean, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Like imagine raw electricity coming to your house if you don't have an appliance to power it. What will you do with it? Other than holding the two wires and killing yourself. There's no other use case that I can think of electricity if there are no appliances to power.
Do you think MCP or some equivalent of MCP could be, the are like portal to this? Because the way I look at it, I think, and I don't know if I'm right here. I think just like every business needs a website, they will need some equivalent of an MCP server. So that just like we do Google search, we just go to a chatbot and then we're like, okay, I want to buy this service. Okay, pay there.
We're thinking deeply about it, man. So we are thinking very deeply about it. The analogy is good. What is the base entry point of these agents into your lives,
Hmm.
whether in business or at home, etc. Like how do you infuse it? Like back to the electricity example, I think you picked up the cue from there. We're deeply thinking about it. We're taking a little bit of a platform view on that. I think it's an emerging space. I think the complexity in this is that unlike the era of electricity where appliances were built after um, after electricity, like nobody had thought of a light bulb. Electricity got, general availability of electricity came before the light bulb got invented. So in this case, applications are already there. Slack आप use कर रहे हो, Discord use कर रहे हो, Jira use कर रहे हो. Like think of your life as an entrepreneur, as a software developer. Like you already use multiple tools. So the ability now to infuse them with a new experience, there'll be new products that will come up. But अभी की life में जो हम लोग digital experiences use कर रहे हैं, how do we get this to them is some sort of a platform view where you will now have, almost think of it like a marketplace of agents that will sort of interact with each other. So there's a view on that. Google has a viewpoint on that. We have recently announced a platform product called Agent Space, which we believe is going to be the future of agentic experiences for knowledge workers inside companies. And then we have also come out with Agent Builder, which is a low code, no code platform where you will build agents that will sort of interact with each other, that will work on an agent runtime, that will have access to tools, that will have an orchestration framework, and experiences and agent to agent sort of behaviors that we build. So I think it will be a platform led approach where there'll be hooks and plug and play into existing experiences. So I agree with the analogy. Some sort of MCP will come into play. We believe it will be ours.
Okay.
Verdict is still out. People are building their own. Salesforce has built something. We are doing something. Our competitors are at it as well. Let's see. Again, I don't think it's going to be a one company ka MCP. I think there'll be a few. And let's see how these protocols emerge and develop.
I mean, the most ideal case scenario would be like there's like one MCP to rule them all, right? Because then it becomes ultra simple. Like I create a
But then
MCP,
you're giving
sir.
too much control. Then you're giving too much control to that MCP. So you have to be a little like we are not living in a
Hmm.
one view world. So we also want to make sure because there is like the power of generative AI and power of intelligence is so much that you don't want one entity, one company, one country, one something to like have like very deep control on how it is disseminated and how it is made available.
I mean,
So
it could be sort of in the way like so. Say for instance, and I use the forbidden word here, Bing. Bing can still find websites, right? And okay, wild expression change. Bing can still
or
find websites.
Microsoft paid my bills for some time. I got some paychecks from Microsoft. I'll reserve my comments on Bing. Like a lot of Microsoft stack is like really awesome. But yeah, some things like Bing and Windows Vista or whatever. Like
I mean, okay, DuckDuckGo, right? DuckDuckGo. They can still find websites. So the portal is really a website. So I'm thinking of an MCP server as a website equivalent where let's say you go to Gemini and then you say कि Gemini पे I look up something. I want a software that tracks my day-to-day tasks. So and then Gemini finds it just like Google finds the website, and then I just pay for it right there, and then I can use it through Gemini. But if I have a particular ID on the protocol, then I can just go to Claude and use the same ID, or I could just go to ChatGPT and use the same ID.
I don't disagree with you, but yet to have emerged. I think what will happen, man, is it will emerge once we know how these agents look like.
Right.
Right. And once this agentic marketplace, tagged to an ID and ownership of agents and what agents can do, draw parallel to humans. So
Hmm.
basically, if you had to hire five people, you would go to some portal, hire five people based on their skills, get them to do some job for you, pay them a salary. You want to keep them as, if it's a short term task, you'll hire them as contractors, a long term task, you'll hire them as full time employees, stuff like that, right? Draw parallels on that, right? I think that's how the agentic world will look like, where you will have like short term agents, first agents, long term agents, you'll pay for agents, like there'll be open source agents, there'll be freelancer agents, there'll be like I think that's how it's going to emerge. But how they will engage with each other in this world and what that portal to access these agents will be and how agent to agent communication will happen, it's I think a topic that still I don't think at least I don't know enough about it, so I can't comment about it.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm not sure where to go next, but let's just, keep criticizing. the government.
I'm telling you, man, India is a little late to the party as
Mhm.
far as AI is concerned. But I would not criticize the government. I would tell you that the government of India is doing some phenomenal work on some foundational stuff on AI. There's some deep thought, and I think we have well-meaning people running, IT department in India. India AI mission. I'm associated with that to some extent, and I'm seeing where India is headed with this is really powerful. I don't know if you have heard what we are trying to do, but it's at three or four different planes and levels, right? And you have to understand that India is a very complex country. It
Correct. Yeah.
has your religious diversity, regional diversity, language complexity. It's many countries rolled into one country. So from that standpoint, AI for India is not an easy subject to tackle as much as it is AI for China or AI for America because of homogeneity that there is there in these countries and heterogeneous identities that exist in India. I think we are the most heterogeneous country in the world. So for us to take cautious steps so that there is AI for everybody, there's the same layer and same experience that somebody in Northeast gets versus a southern state gets versus a western state gets versus an affluent state like Maharashtra, Gujarat gets versus not so affluent state gets. It's a very complex and intricate subject, right? So you also don't want to build AI for the elite. You want to build AI, you don't want to give like the mistake that we did with electricity, for example, like the reason why it took electrification in India took such a long time that we took a very elitist view of electricity. पहले शहरों में देते हैं, पहले अमीर लोगों को देते हैं. I think with AI, government is trying to change that. We are trying to get to the masses and how it impacts the masses. And there are three pillars on which the government is working. One is enhancing productivity of government employees, right? Giving tooling to government departments and employees for upskilling um, themselves to use AI tools to operate and perform more efficiently. It's a journey. I agree with you, but it's happening in India. It is happening. So, government, for example, we work with a department called Karmyog. They are the HR department of the government,
Okay.
right? So the ability, so the charter that they have is to infuse knowledge, disseminate knowledge, be the AI sort of experience across all government departments, state government, central government, and stuff like that. The second thing is Government of India has already floated a tender to procure a large amount of AI infrastructure, right? GPUs, accelerators, both from us, AMD, etc. So we are building foundational capability on AI infrastructure right now in the country. The bids are already out there. There are some bidders who have already. So what is that AI infrastructure going to be used for? The government is going to give that AI infrastructure to the startup ecosystem at a subsidized rate, almost 60% subsidy to accelerate use cases for India. So things like agri AI, financial inclusion, stuff like that, right? What really makes difference to India. So I think there's work happening there. India is not a country where we can have like Niger, "Aj socha kal bana diya." So it's going to be a path, as I said, and but government is doing some really good work. Um, we can, if you want to shift your criticism to what they have done to roads in Mumbai or whatever, we can talk about that. But in AI, I think they're headed in the right direction. I just hope and wish that the pace was a little bit faster. And the viewpoint, what I'm most excited about, man, is the fact that they're doing it to accelerate the startup ecosystem in India.
Right.
Like if startups get 60% subsidy on building cool foundational stuff that will
Hmm.
serve and serve the world, I think that's going to be really important.
Okay. Okay. So one other question I had that I guess you answered is why the focus on multilingual? That I guess, is to make it accessible to everyone. Um, but then, do you think that the budget that they're going for or aiming for is really, like realistic? Because yes, the amount that they announced in the budget is a big amount, but it's like $1 for each person that lives in the country. So,
I think what's going to happen is, I think government ka budget is one thing, but if that's going to accelerate economic activity, if that's going to lead to job creation, if that's going to lead to export, for example, if India becomes the, like India was the destination for software services, if India becomes the destination of creating AI agents and we export now AI agents and stuff like that, the economic activity that you will see will far outstrip the budget that the government has put in to this,
hmm,
right? So I think that's another lens to look at it. Maybe this is an impetus to drive economic activity in the area of AI, not only limited to how you will serve and how people in India will start consuming AI, but also think of it like an export impetus. Think of it like foundational research in like space technologies, autonomous technologies, that all of that we could use internally and also export to the rest of the world. So basically, build in India for India, but for the world.
right. Now, in this, my major point was, of course, one of them was the budget, which is, I guess, okay, fair. That's a really good point. Ki that's more of like a booster shot to the economy. But then there is also this like lack of focus or ignorance toward research, I believe. Like
Yeah.
research is not, I mean, I believe it's so important, wherein you are able to fund people that are doing research, and that is just not valued here. And I think that's where the separation comes, because if you really value the research that could be done in India with the kind of minds we have, then
I agree. Man, हमारा क्या हुआ ना? I think for many years since the 90s, um, we believe that we are the country that can give the best service in the world, right? We became a services hub. Look at all the call centers, KPOs, BPOs, software development shops, back offices, etc. opening in India. So India became the service destination, and we sort of, I don't know, in my view, relegated ourselves to that space, and we said, that's our forte. We have English speaking engineering folks, तो ये अच्छा है, इसमें अच्छा margins है, यही करते हैं. I think what people didn't realize, and I think software companies in India are realizing now, that without foundational research and without having universities that promote research thought process, um, through economic independence and through self-reliance is not going to happen. India has become a good demand center itself, right? I service the India market. I don't sell Google technologies in America. I sell Google technologies in India for Indian companies. There's a massive market. We are one of the biggest markets for Google software in the world. So there is internal consumption which we missed because our research, we didn't put as much muscle on research as we did on building a good services muscle. जावा सिखा दो सब बच्चों को, कोडिंग सिखा दो, बेटा 3 महीने की ट्रेनिंग दिला दो मैसूर या ट्रिवेंड्रम में, और फिर बिठा दो सिस्टम्स पे, टाइम शीट भरवा दो हर हफ्ते. I think we don't have research capabilities like the universities of America, even China have for that matter. The level that we want is the level of Berkeley and Stanford and something like that. वो हमको hurt कर रहा है अभी. Now, the faster we realize that, and the faster, and also top quality talent we are losing, unfortunately. I mean, that's the reality. Like, look at these companies on who run these big shops. I mean, they are all from here. So I think some of that Work needs to happen. Um, and I'm hoping that somebody's paying attention to it. I don't see workforce coming out that is research inclined. Very little of it. We are putting like Google, for example, and I'm not here on a marketing spree in this session with you, but a lot of our Google DeepMind and research teams are now India based. Where we are saying कि देखो हम बनाते हैं like the language project that we have is all running out of India,
Mhm.
like the next 1,000 languages and stuff like that, right? So I think though we cannot delegate that work to corporate India, we will have to do that foundationally and fundamentally first party in universities and invest deeply. Government needs to invest deeply into research. Universities need to think deeply about the future and not just churning out engineers who write code and fill timesheets. वो जमाना तो खत्म हो जाएगा 12 महीने में
Mhm.
क्योंकि एआई कोड लिख लेगा ना फिर आप क्या करोगे.
Yes. So अभी इसके अंदर let's say with the current state of India, wherein at least uh, what I have seen with the eye of a critic is कि I look at it कि कोई बंदा top university में जा रहे हैं and then they do a PhD there and then they get 10K stipend for that. And so this guy is going to be like, ठीक है भाई मैं तो सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर बन जाता हूँ फिर बाय बाय. So and then जो पूरा इंटरेस्ट था, maybe they had some interest in physics or core ML, that just dies out. So at this state, would you या फिर would any VC angel investor, big company, if someone were to do a startup with research, would would they possibly get funded? Is that a possibility, or it's that's very hard?
I'm not a VC, so I can't speak on behalf of the VC ecosystem on how they think about funding, but करना चाहिए.
हाँ.
मेरा व्यू ये है कि करना चाहिए. तो मेरा व्यू ये है कि लॉन्ग टर्म बेट लेना चाहिए कंपनीज पे हु हैव पुट फाउंडेशनल लाइक रिसर्च इनटू देयर कोर प्रोडक्ट स्ट्रेटजी, right? I'm seeing some companies emerge. I've seen some great work happening on like some foundational research in India by some companies doing voice technologies. But truly, I haven't seen like we haven't seen a perplexity come out of India or a um, you know who else can I name that did some 11 labs come out of India or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would that is the moment that I'm waiting for. कि एक 11 labs निकल के आए इंडिया से एक perplexity निकल so some of them are Indian founders but इंडिया से निकल के आना चाहिए.
Right.
And I think we should back companies who are doing and maybe taking a longer term bet. Maybe आपको 3 quarter में नहीं दिखेगा break even. Maybe it's going to come in 8 or 10 quarters or whatever. But have that long term view on folks that are doing something more foundational and fundamental.
Right. E- I guess even in terms of foundational, India mein there's a big like organized data problem. So maybe in the US or in China, most matlab, of course there are unsystematic places, but there most of the things are either put into a computer or in a proper database. But इधर बहुत ज़्यादा paper है, and hence when I go to train an AI model, I don't find the appropriate data that would service the India market. So uh, is it right of, and this is just ये तो मैं personally पूछ रहा हूँ because this is something I'm interested in. Is it right of me to say that it is first better to build a AI product that provides value, sort of like Perplexity, and then just use that to create or collect the data that would later on be used for foundational models?
Both, I mean, depends on which direction you're taking, but both strategies are okay. Um, Sarvam took a combined strategy. They built for India foundationally. They took language as their first. They saw that gap. They did some foundational research on it. There were a few PhD founders who worked on it. So they took a mix. mix of breed approach. They built something. They didn't wait for it. They didn't wait for perfection on Tamil or Telugu or whatever, right? To release it into the market, and I think they are now building on top of that stack. I work with another startup, No Broker. They have a B2B platform called Convozen. They are taking the same approach on Convozen. They'll say, okay, they have a lot of wealth of phone recordings and data, multilingual data, because they are in this brokerage business, so they cater to all of the country. Whatever they have, they're built on that. They may not have as much Oriya as they have Kannada, for example. It will come. It will build. It will be better. But अभी जो है उसके साथ release कर लो. So I think you know both No Broker and Sarvam and stuff. I think the strategy that they have taken is a mix of breed is okay in my view. You could do
Okay.
both. It's also what your target market is. यार. कुछ लोग हैं इंडिया में जो सिर्फ यूएस के लिए बना रहे हैं.
Mhm.
It's okay. Like build for that, and then if you see a market opportunity in India, if you see unit economics work for you, then build. Otherwise, it depends absolutely on what your strategy is. You believe internal consumption is good enough, not good enough. You see a use case, you see monetization on that use case.
Okay. Let's say I wanted to start up today. How could Google or Google Cloud help me? Is there something that they are doing that would help me start up in India?
Absolutely great question, yeah. So we have a program called Google for Startups. It is a program that we have been running for a long time. Um, it has gone through its own evolution over a period of time, and it's a very robust program. It covers all of Google, including Google Cloud, right? And as a part of this program, I think the one word that startups want to hear first, I'll come out with that, which is credits. So there is a healthy dose of credits, and up to a maximum of, it used to be up to a maximum of $100,000, then it went to $200,000, and now with AI, if we are an AI startup in India, backed by some accelerator or VC or whatever, I think we can go up to $250,000 of credits spread over a 2 year period to accelerate your journey. So it is an amazing program. We have put very robust operation system behind it, so people can search for Google for GFS on Google. There's a simple form. Somebody, like, we have a large team that services that capability, and you can just sort of sign up for it and go ahead with that. So I think that is where I would start. In addition to that, there is also the um, Google for Startup. We also have the Google for India Fund. So we are also, through Capital X and all of that. We do accelerator schools, etc. Right? That you would be aware of. But specifically on Google Cloud, right? We do provide a lot of benefits and capabilities, including training programs, coaching enablement, technical help. We have customer engineering teams that work with startups very closely on getting their products ready and certified on Google Cloud, putting the right security compliance considerations behind the whole cloud ecosystem, on how to make a business that is robust for the future and not quick and dirty MVP, but ready for like showtime. So I think all of that for sure is there, and we are very proud. We have had hundreds and hundreds of startups who have benefited from that program. Some that are unicorn today. I can name a few like Purple and Apna and others. Like all of their journeys, all of these unicorns' journeys grow. So these are not trivial names anymore, right? All their journeys started with Google for Startups, and they have been like very, they've hit scale and hit India's high scale and stuff like that. partnering with Google, and we are extremely proud of these journeys that we have had. Right. So any early stage startup, um, we would encourage to sign up for Google for Startup program. Um, Use Google search; it works generally.
Yeah.
For Google stuff, it definitely works. Or your favorite search engine, if it's not Bing, to search for Google for startups, and yeah, somebody on the team will get in touch with you. It's a very robust program. If the startup is associated with an accelerator or a VC already, seed funded, Series A, whatever. You can go through. We have a very robust VC partnership, VC business development partnership program as well, where we do extend some more benefits to the VC ecosystem, including technical assistance, help, business strategy, go to market, etc. The other pattern that we have seen is for B2B startups. That those who are developing SaaS products is to see how we can SaaSify their applications, bring them on. Google has a very robust distribution ecosystem, whether it's on Android or it's through cloud so I think we are the best distribution engine for tech that exists today across various surfaces. So whether it's Android or Google Cloud, how do we get these applications in the hands of people? I think that's also a place where Google is keen to work with the startup people.
Okay. I guess Abhigel, so that's it. Thank you so much for joining, Nareen. And I hope you can come on another episode because you said you would like to continue this interesting discussion. You said it, so I hope at some point we can get another episode.
It
Uh,
was lovely talking to you, man. Happy to do it if my weekday schedules are crazy. I don't know how my day evolves. Despite using Gen AI tools, I still can't get my productivity up to a level where where I want it to be. But happy to spend some more time with you later next month to continue this discussion. But it was lovely speaking with you.